It's the same, ne?
Yeah, this is one of the things that really connect the African diaspora with the African continent, because we have the similar struggle, and I think South Africa was just one of the more ones that stood out, especially since it was recent. But that's the energy that can connect us. Sometimes we have to connect to our struggles. But as far as this, it's always disturbing. This is the first time I came here was 2005, and I think I was going on a campaign trying to get people to come here because I've never even seen this kind of history before. But you know, it motivates you to try to just dedicate your life to something that can make a difference. But family, anybody have any feedback on their experience? If you want to share a word or two.
Let's not forget.
What about you, Kosi? You've probably seen this a few times.
I see this every time, and it's not one of my favorite museums because it takes me back, even if when I was not there. But when my parents are telling us about it, there's every time I need to share a tear of what our black people struggle and are still struggling even today. We thought when we had the freedom, we thought maybe they could teach us as black people that as you're going to be voting, what is freedom for you guys. But we feel that we were never taught. We're just saying that we were happy that we're going to get our freedom. And freedom of speech, we're not yet there. We still have a lot as black people to be done by our government, especially when it comes to education. As I said it yesterday, that we need education more than anything, and health and work and security, and the houses for the black people around, because of they fought for this country, and now the people that are benefiting, they're not South Africans. As you've seen yesterday at the Constitutional Hill, there were older people there who went exile, who fight for this country, but they've never benefited. They are always there every day. So that's why we're saying we hope one day the government will come and say to us, let's sit down, let's talk about it. What can we improve and what can we do as a black child in South Africa, as an African? Because there's so much that we want to do, that we want to learn it as a black child around. So that's why even in the township and the rural areas, the kids, they take education more than anything. So going back to this museum, Constitutional Hill and also Apartheid Museum, it breaks my heart to see that our mothers and fathers, grandfathers, they died for us so that today we could be better, but we are not better as a black child in South Africa.
Exceptionally well said. Exceptionally well said. And one of the things that stood out when I saw Cyril Ramaphosa, and the guide mentioned 1993. So he was basically just in that whole movement since a child, and now he's the president of South Africa. And the only thing I can think about in my mind now is that he achieved that power, but then the power that he has achieved is probably being suppressed by the corporations who own all of the riches in South Africa. Because I'm sure you're born in that struggle. That's all you know, and all you know is working towards the liberation of your people, and you finally get that ultimate power. But then you may want to do things you can't do. And I'm hoping I'm not making excuses for the man.
No, I understand.
But it seemed like every single generation of ANC leaders that been around for the 30 years of South Africa was all grew up in that struggle. But then it seems like your will could be challenged to where you finally get to that position, and then you can't do the things you really want to do because of, I guess people call them the powers be. I guess the powers that be is the people who have access to controlling the economy.
Just like when they're choosing the ministers, I wish they could go back to the drawing board and say people vote for this minister, because we could see that person that at the end of the day we can gain something as a black child around in South Africa. Example, just like us in the tourism industry, we need our minister, a younger person who's got a vision about what we want to achieve and want to see in tourism, especially in South Africa.
Absolutely, and you're leading an incredible charge in Soweto. I didn't even know that that Soweto had a nice tourism board that they were building.
Yes, we are building that because of, we saying to them it's one of the township that created most of the freedom fighters around here in South Africa. So we want to create jobs, especially for the youth around in South Africa, and also the black people, because of they're using their hands to create things. So whenever that people want souvenirs, they must buy. We are pushing this brand of saying buy locals, because they are the one that are doing that. So now we've got an organization that we've opened in Soweto that is called Soweto Tourism. So even this month, we want to show and expose the people around in the world that we can do it. Now we are doing the Soweto Tourism Awards to all the businesses around in Soweto, because they are all owned by black people of Soweto. And then every year in November, this year it will be the third one, we're going to be doing the Soweto Investment Conference, where the black people in Soweto can come and invest in the businesses around. So that organization is an NPO, and then it's working a lot, especially for the township in Soweto. And then now we've got the broader one, which is Soweto. It's South African Township and Villages, because we want now people, they must know that they can visit the villages and also the township to explore and gain experience. So now, at least now, there is someone now who can go out and talk about the township and the villages around in South Africa.
Absolutely, a great diplomat.
Yes.
Just really appreciate our connection.
One of the things
So-
that it made me think is how the more things change, the more, of course, the more things change, the more they stay the same.
Mhm.
But also how the black struggle is universal all over. So I've heard this same story
Somebody
in-
straight.
in Jamaica. I've heard it in Brazil. I've heard it in, of course, in the States. And like with the rebellions and Haiti and, everywhere. And with the rebellions in the States, we have the equivalents. Like in the 60s, you had the various marches. And then you had the Watts riots,
Straight
the
to
Detroit riots, the California riots after, this crazy,
Black Lives Matter.
after these courts where nobody is convicted of, wrongs against black people with obvious evidence, and then the fact that it still happened is
Mhm.
what's, so heartbreaking. And what can we do? And kind of like you said, we're free. Well, what does that mean? I still struggle harder. I still get heart palpitations when the streets.
Chalume lapha ku-left phambili lapha before sijika ne lapha kwalama box lawo. Sorry about that. Yeah.
Still get heart palpitations when the police are in the area, and still get looked at funny when I walk in the room, and just the same thing everywhere. And it still happens. So
I'm sorry to cut that. We're gonna come back to that, to the topic again.
Yes.
I just want us,
Absolutely,
because
family,
we won't be using this route to come back. So I wanted to show you the calabash, the state.